This week, you issued that stock sale. Your cash reserves are up at $3 billion. My understanding is that this allows you to pause Bitcoin sales for the time being. But talk us through, what the next several months look like. Do you plan to sell more Bitcoin? And if so, how much?
Katie, thanks for having me. We have really evolved from being a Bitcoin treasury company to a full digital capital platform. We're the world's largest identified holder of Bitcoin in the world. We have over 840,000 Bitcoin. Digital credit has been launched in the last year in the form of Stretch. That's $10.5 billion. So we have a responsibility to our common shareholders, our preferred shareholders, and to Bitcoin, of course. We issued we've accumulated $3 billion in cash because we listened to our preferred shareholders, and they said having liquid cash on our balance sheet in the short term is important. And we also sold Bitcoin to be able to show liquidity with our Bitcoin. Yes, we will continue to issue capital. It could be in the form of MSTR, it could be in the form of Bitcoin, and we're going to make the decisions that are best for our shareholders over time.
Well, could it also potentially be in the form of STRC? That, of course, are preferred shares. They're known as Stretch. My understanding is that you last issued Stretch in mid-May. Of course, it's been trading at a discount here. Do you plan to issue Stretch again in the near future?
Yeah, our plan is to get Stretch back to par. Unsure how long that will take. Building up the U.S. dollar reserve was a big part of that, and we'll continue to build that. And yeah, when Stretch gets back to par, we'll issue more. We'll buy Bitcoin. We may continue to beef up our U.S. dollar reserve. That's a big part of our capital plan, is to issue more preferred over time because it's very accretive to our Bitcoin per share, which is accretive to our shareholders.
Well, I am curious just about kind of the structure going forward. I mean, to get back to par, is there a sense here that you can do that, whether it's with selling more Bitcoin or issuing more equity? Have you determined what might actually be the best path to get there or the most efficient path to get there?
We think the first thing is the U.S. dollar reserve, right? I think we've learned over the course of the last couple of months that having that liquid access to U.S. dollar capital, whether it be 1, 2, 3 years, is quite important. And we saw when we increased it in the last couple of weeks, we got Stretch up from a low in the 75 range to close to 90. So we'll continue to build that. We increased the dividend. I don't think the dividend is as much of a factor. And I think a track record of success and a track record of execution. And then, of course, education. We're a year into the product. A lot of financial products take 2 or 3 years to mature. So we're early, we're learning, we're listening to the market. And the great thing is there are built-in mechanisms with the market, for example, going to par, right, and staying at par. That's a mechanism that lets us know what we're doing right and what we're not doing right and what we can improve upon.
What's the communication, though, with shareholders overall? There's been a lot more focus, obviously, on the preferred shares. But, I mean, you guys issued a ton of common equity in the preceding years. And I am curious if there's any sense in trying to reconcile with some of those folks who bought a lot higher than where that 96.73 price stands right now.
Our shareholders understand our primary goal is over time to outperform Bitcoin, which is an extremely volatile asset, right? It's vol is somewhere in the 30, 40, 50 range. And they understand that MSTR is built to outperform Bitcoin. And as a result, when Bitcoin goes up, MSTR typically goes up more. When Bitcoin goes through a bear cycle like it is right now, MSTR can perform a little bit worse. But as long as MSTR is priced at greater than the net asset value of our Bitcoin, it means that our shareholders are giving us credit for the performance above Bitcoin. And when we do that, we can issue more equity for the most part. Look, we talk to our shareholders all the time. There's quite a few constituents, as you know. We're one of the most liquid stocks in the world. And when we talk to our shareholders, institutional, retail, we look at what people say on social media. We take a lot of comments. We bring that all in, and it's great to have the feedback.
And I mean, just looking forward, again, I mentioned that, your cash reserves, they're $3 billion right now. It seems like you have several years of being able to cover your interest expenses. But I mean, when you game plan out in the future, 3 years, 5 years, it just feels like Bitcoin has been stuck in this rut for a while now, trading around $60,000 per coin or thereabouts. But do you have a break glass sort of plan if, we go down to 30,000 or 20,000 or even below?
Yeah, when Bitcoin gets down closer to 8 to 10,000 is when we're going to have we have to consider some of the risk associated with our debt. Until that point in time, we feel very secure about the balance sheet. Look, to your point, Bitcoin has quite a bit of volatility. It goes up and down, and every time it's in a bear cycle like it is, people ask, okay, will it go to zero? And it hasn't yet in its 18-year history. In fact, it just achieves all-time highs. But what we need to do is build a capital structure that can withstand bear markets and, of course, benefit from bull cycles. And that's what we've done so far. We've been through this in 2022. We're going through it in 2026. And I'm pretty excited about the next bull market of Bitcoin.
So for those folks who are concerned that sort of strategy as being kind of the dominant buyer, or at least a perpetual buyer of Bitcoin, there's some reassurance you can give them that you are not gone from that market as a buyer?
We're not going anywhere. We're the largest identified holder of Bitcoin. My objective would be the largest buyer of Bitcoin for the foreseeable future. We're not going anywhere. Anybody that's worried about strategy shouldn't be. That said, Bitcoin's a lot bigger than us, right? We are 4% holder of Bitcoin. Bitcoin trades $30 to $40 billion a day. You saw a couple weeks ago, we sold about $200 million of Bitcoin. It did not move the market. In fact, the market moved up during that period of time. So, but we're not going anywhere. We're sticking with Bitcoin for the long term. We'll be buyers of Bitcoin for the long term.
Okay, so you're not going anywhere. I do want to go back a little bit to the preferred shares, because Bloomberg News did report last week that distressed funds, they're in talks to swap their preferred shares for other securities. Of course, that would be a negotiation. And with that in mind, can you give us an update on what those conversations sound like? What is actually developing there?
Yeah, there may be funds talking to each other about swaps. We haven't been in any material conversations. The way we're going to make Stretch work is we're going to continue to increase the U.S. dollar reserve. We're going to listen to the market. We've put out, the opportunity and the option to buy back Stretch if it makes sense, but we're not in any material conversations otherwise.
And Phong, before we let you go, I want to reflect on strategy a little bit, because you're the CEO of Strategy. You're best known, of course, for being a Bitcoin treasury company, really the OG. But you also have a software business. And as of the end of March, you had more than 1,500 employees. And I'm wondering, sitting in the CEO chair, how much of your time do you divide between this ecosystem of financing that you've built up to accumulate more Bitcoin and the actual underlying software business?
I'll start with, I'm an engineer by education. I'm a technologist at heart. I'm a financier as my day job, I'll call it. So I love software. I love AI. I love Bitcoin. They're the convergence of all the things that I've really enjoyed doing. 50-50, 40-60, a lot of the discipline is the same. And keep in mind, of the 1,500 employees, we have folks who are in finance and marketing, in engineering, in legal and accounting, that are able to bring a maturity and 25 years of public company experience to our Bitcoin business that I think a lot of other companies that are in the Bitcoin or DeFi world aren't able to bring. And it's part of, I think, what makes us successful.